Yeah. Let's go over to the defense of Richard Allen. I know we've been kind of arguing that along the way as we talk about the actual prosecution, but yeah, those confessions are a big thing. And having that psychologist come in who wasn't talking to podcasters, who wasn't researching the case, who wasn't biased, seemed to have a pretty solid, explanation, a pretty solid background as well. Who do you think probably read better to that jury? The defense psychologist that talked about him, or the one that, had the tainted history?
That's the thing is the defense psychologist is more unassailable. They didn't have the bias or apparent bias that the prosecution side did. And on top of that, it was so critical to have that because, like I said, intuitively we think, hey, no one's going to confess to something they didn't do. And I thought the defense psychologist did a good job of explaining in a digestible way how that could actually happen after a series of horrible events that Richard Allen has been through.
It's yeah. I mean, it's been very surprising to see just kind of how some of these things have played out, and what's read better. Initially, here when the defense was going in, and right before this case started, we were all looking at this, going, "Gosh, it feels like they stripped them of any defense that they could have." But I guess that wasn't so bad when there's not much of a prosecution either. It turned out both were playing with half decks, it seems, of what they were allowed to, except the defense actually had some real stuff that just wasn't allowed into the case.
Yeah, and that's a big potential problem. So there's case law in most jurisdictions that says that the judge cannot preclude the only defense that defense is running. If they have one sole defense, and here arguably it was the Odinist defense that someone else was involved in this, and Judge Gold prohibited that. When
Mhm.
you prohibit the only sole defense, that is a real potentially reversible issue on appeal. So even if there is a conviction, Richard Allen still has a number of outs on the backside.
He's got, as I've always been saying in this case, he has the get a new trial free card, almost guaranteed. That's if he is convicted. And like I said, the jury may have already decided by now, by the time you're listening to this. But let's say he does get off, and they do find him innocent because there's a tremendous lack of evidence here. What kind of case does he have against Delphi for round two of this, where it's Richard against them?
Oh, totally. There are potential civil rights claims that he can bring, that anyone can bring.
Mhm.
If there is what's called malicious prosecution or abusive process, and it's really the government uh, realizing some problems with the case, waiting 5 years to even bring it,
Mhm.
and then failing to establish that a person was guilty after he's been held in solitary confinement for God knows how long. He will certainly pursue civil avenues after this, and it could bankrupt the small governmental municipality of Delphi.
It has echoes of the case out of Manitowoc, Wisconsin, the Making a Murderer documentary, Stephen
Yeah.
Avery, where there were the accusations of murder against him. He was even found and put away, and then they found evidence that exonerated him, and he got a million some dollar judgment against the city. And then the city, that's a lot of money for Manitowoc. It ain't a big place. Been there many times. And like, he killed Teresa Halbach back here in his junkyard, and we know how that has all been sitting, never having to make the payment on that bill. Um, I don't know. It's just going to be an interest. It reminds me of that. So I would say to Richard Allen, I'd be a little bit concerned if you do get off. I'd be just kind of getting out of Delphi, maybe do the lawsuit from a distance. I don't know. It just seems like there might not be a lot of up and up police work going on his part there.
You bring up an important point because we think that, oh, if someone is wrongfully accused and then they bring a civil lawsuit, they're allowed to do that and it's cool,
Yeah.
whatever. The reality is that the government's not going to like that, and they might find some other way to go after him if he tries to poke the bear. So on the balance, is it better off for him to just go on about his life if he is acquitted? Maybe.
You make a very good point. That may be the best option. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.